Board is now returned to open session. The discussions and deliberations during closed session were restricted and all stated in the motion. No formal action was taken by the board in closed session. So I'll declare the committee meeting now in session. And let me give you all a reminder, and I was reminded of this morning, and as I need to be reminded of things on a regular basis. Only committee members can make motions during a specific committee meeting. And only committee members can vote on matters within those committees. I tend to forget that sometimes myself. I get kind of involved in what's going on. So that's why I remind myself as well as all the rest of you about that. That being said, Chairman Regent Bell, you have the Academic and Affairs Committee, sir.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and we will resume our meeting in a more normal fashion. And we have Provost Fisher with us here, and I have all my committee members that are listed in the room with us. So, Provost Fisher, we have several action items to talk about today.
Yep.
Percent.
I guess we'll start with the first three, then we'll present that have to do with academics. I think what you'll see from what we are asking for approval for is new and modern programs that fit where we are as a society and what we do. And what you will also see is that I think it's interdisciplinary. And as we talked before, as a group in here, interdisciplinary is an important matter as we move into the future. The first one will be to look at the approval of Bachelor of Science and User Experience. And Dr. Arnold is here, and I'd love for her to tell you about it.
Can we just stand here? I need to be in any kind of. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for allowing me to take a minute or two today to introduce the User Experience Bachelor of Science degree. My name is Christina Arnold. I'm Chair of Art and Design, and we are one of the partners that is bringing this interdisciplinary program to you. I wanted to take, you have the proposal in front of you, so I don't want to reread that, but take the high points, which will be what, why here, and why do we think this will work. So first, what is it that this program is designed to do? And that is to train or to work with students to help them learn how to design digital products, web design. So you're very familiar, web applications, the applications on your phone, wearable tech you have on your wrist, any kind of interface with systems. You go to the doctor and they log all your health information, and then you go back home and you look up the results. So all of those things are digital products. Why? The employment stats tell the first part of the story, and that's jobs in UX are destined to go up 13% higher than the average growth rate of other industry. We think that only tells part of the story, because the other thing is with the growth of e-commerce and all kinds of traditional stores going online, with the growth in digital platforms, every company. So everything is a tech application at this point, and you need somebody. If you don't have the money to spend on someone to be a UX designer on your force, think Macy's, think Apple, then if you're a mom and pop, you're going to need somebody who understands these skills. How do I get my information out to an audience over the web? Do I have an app on my phone that I can download to buy your stuff? You all know by going online who has good interaction and who has poor user interaction. Why here? Simply no one else has done it yet. This would be the first program in the Commonwealth, and that's exciting. It's growing. There's about 150 programs globally, 50 of those in the United States. So again, academia is the need, and we want to be at the forefront of that. Second, our students are interested, our students on this campus, and we know that because we asked them. We did a survey for the feeder programs, computer science, art and design, UX, and 84% of the students asked said, yes, if there was a bachelor of science degree, I would be interested. Why do we think this will work? We're kind of already doing it. So this comes out of a relationship that interdisciplinary is important, but interdisciplinary is hard. And so computer science and art and design have now a 5-year relationship. I think I was here almost 5 years ago in front of this same board arguing for our joint certificate in game design. And so that's now been online or it's existed for 3 years. We have 50 students in it. That is a joint program between CS, Art and Design. So we've got that relationship, and you all may be familiar with the app SunSketcher, or Dr. Emsley's project that he's been leading. The team behind that is our team. So that's our faculty, that is our students, and those are the folks that have built that app. And again, it is design, it's development, it is research, and it is application, and it's evaluation. And then you go to redesign. So that's what we're talking about here. In short, it's efficient. We have the faculty and the students here. We have the team. We have proof of concept, SunSketcher. We've done it. We essentially have all the blocks here. We're just stacking them differently. Thanks. And I can take questions if you have them.
So, Dr. Arnold, thank you for coming. Quick question is I've had students who work in this area, work with the art side, and then also come through the college. This is just talking with them about this. This is one of those areas that AI is creeping into. A student that goes through our program, what are they going to be able to add over just using AI to do this kind of work for you?
That's an excellent question. And I mean, we're fooling ourselves if we say AI is not creeping into our area. It's everywhere. And another term for user experience is human-computer interaction. And that's a team. And AI might be half of that team, the computer, but it is not human. And coming from art and design, I can tell you, like we've had a love affair with the computer as a tool for a long time. So the camera killed painting, right? But we still paint. The internet killed everything else, but we still have, digital killed film, but we still have photography. Like these things are still important. And the human touch is something that that we love. Otherwise, it makes it inhuman. So that's from a self-interested argument. I love things that look like they were created by a person. I love things that are different, and I think we all do. Whether you love cars or fashion or shoes or hats or phones or paintings, like we all want something that looks different, and that is the human part of design. But when you're talking about human-computer interaction, this is how human beings handle technology. And so you can build technology, but if you can't use it well, and again, SunSketcher, I think is a good proof of concept. And I love the computer science students and faculty. The beta version they gave us, like, here's SunSketcher. And we looked at it and we're like, dude, this looks like it was designed on the DOS prompt. Like there were no instructions, there were no pictures, there was nothing that talked me through this. And so we gave it to the UX students and they built animation and built illustrations. And they built a set of instructions, so you pick it up and it tells you like how to angle your phone correctly and how to set it. It's not in like C# line type on the screen. So that we need both sides to make it work. The designers, you give them an app assignment and they give you a great prototype. It looks great, but it doesn't store your data. It doesn't sift your data. It doesn't have any kind of, robust piece in the cloud in Northern Virginia somewhere.
I note in the description, you talk about a cost-effective launch because we're using this faculty. Yeah. How many students, what's the projections on size of this program?
That's a great question. And I think we can look at kind of the certificates we've developed, game, graphic design, because we're starting with the latent audience first. We're looking at people who are already here. Game in 3 years went from 0 to 50. Graphic design went from 0 to 75. And those are kind of the feeder programs. Computer science itself has over 200 majors. So, and we asked, this crew of people. So I think we had just over 60 people respond. 84% said, yes, I want this program. That's over 50 students. We're on our campus now.
I have a kind of a wonky question.
Oh, great.
So you're collaborating across silos, right? And so, the concern with RCM and our budget model was that it would disincentivize that kind of collaboration. But this is not the only place you've collaborated. You've also worked on with some investment on research, including engineering as well. And talk to me about kind of how this all plays out within that budget model conversation and how does the money get work?
No, that's excellent. And Tuesday, is she in the room?
No.
Tuesday Helbig has played a part in helping us too. So yes, so this also comes out of the XR Lab, which is a partnership between art design, and Faculty of Engineering and Applied Sciences. It comes out of the game design certificate, which is choice to grow and revise. And partly you have unlike people you think in the room together. So it's like, well, what are the art designers hanging out with computer scientists? And I thought our students were shy. And then I met the computer science students. But you put them in a room together and they were making magic, literally. Well, and whenever I say magic, it's really like chemistry. But I think the money piece I think about too, because I'm a chair. And as designers, we figured out how to make us. My new best friend. We had to do a couple things a little bit differently. So we now co-own the program and we hardwired that.
Yeah.
We co-own the numbers in terms of majors and we co-own student credit hour production. My big drum I keep beating, because I'm not sure if it's happened yet, is student credit hour production should follow the faculty, which I think happens sometimes, but not all the time, but that would help because there, even though we're altruistic, there has to be some self-interest baked in, or we won't do it.
So, and I will say, was really proud of the creativity that you all have shown, number one. Number two, what a great example of the investment of our trans-institutional investment fund that really worked to help kickstart the XR lab, which is going on to continue great things. So
Yeah.
congratulations.
Thanks, and also the home descent sketcher. And again, like, I am standing here as a representative of the people who are the architects of this program,
Right.
who are UX faculty and art and design, CS faculty, engineering, and then, you know, Emsley over in.
So kudos to
Yeah,
you, plural, everyone involved. I mean, it's a great program.
thanks.
Any other questions, comments? I appreciate your comment on human touch, and as AI is invading all of our lives more and more daily, I go back to the book we talked about last summer, Why We Remember, and what neuroscience is teaching us. And that is that AI does not bring context and nuance to our world and our conversations, and that's important. We do need behaviors, the human touch more and more, I think.
Yes, and as a physician, you know that, I'm sure. Yeah, and we need it to set the agenda. I think the other fear is who drives who. And so we want to make sure as humans that we're the people who are the first part of the process and not that neuroscience and AI and our apps are training us. So that's another important piece actually is we have a new ethics-based course that is being taught the first time this spring. And it is design, future design, essentially all of the questions about why we design, who we design for, how do we make design universal and apply to everyone, and how do we make sure it's the human being that's setting the agenda and not us absorbing what someone else has run through an algorithm and is giving us.
Yes.
We don't want TikTok teaching us everything, you know?
Comments, questions? We need approval of this today. We have our
Committees first.
motion. Yeah, we have our 5 members present. I have a motion from Regent Nichols, and do I hear a second? Second. Second. Regent Helm. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Excellent.
much for your
Thank
time. Stay tuned, watch this space.
The second approval we're looking for is approval of an undergrad certificate in business fundamentals offered through the Gordon Ford College of Business. Dean Thrasher is here.
Good morning. Thank you for being here this morning. Yes.
Valentine's.
This is a day when I use that opportunity to thank our staff in our college for what they do and just show a little love to them because they're loving on us every other day of the year. So this certificate actually has come out of a variety of requests and a variety of conversations, beginning with majors outside the College of Business who now recognize that their students really do need some business knowledge as they move into perhaps entrepreneurial pursuits, the workplace, that sort of thing. We've had a business administration minor for many years, and it's a large minor. It's 30 credit hours. hours. That's at least 2 semesters of additional coursework for the student who do that minor. What we've seen is over the years, the demand for those minors has shrunk. So there's been decline in enrollment in the minor, there's been decline in demand for the minor. But what we're hearing from employers is that certificates carry a lot of weight with them. It shows that a student has added an additional area of focus to their academic credentials. They have a very focused set of knowledge that makes them a great entry-level employee, or prepares them, if they're going into their own business, to hire the right people even. So that's how this certificate came to be. We've shrunk. The minor is still in existence for the time being, but we'll continue to follow it, and it may be completely replaced by the certificate at some point. The certificate's only 21 hours. At least 2 to 3 of those courses, if the student plans ahead, can be completed as part of their column, which shrinks the number of hours even further. But we feel like that will be a great, every student at Western has a set of general electives. And when we can package those electives into a second credential, we just send them into the workforce even more prepared and more skilled. And so that's where this is from.
So I have a couple of questions. First, just to clarify, when you say the enrollment in the minor is going down, your college enrollment is going up, correct?
Yes. Yep, it is.
So are these classes that are on this list, they're pretty well full right now? The accounting, the econ, the management, the marketing, the basic fundamentals courses.
They're full every semester. They're full every year. We have a wonderful set of part-time instructors who help us pick up the additional load for those courses. And particularly those that are part of the culinary, we have an obligation to the university to ensure that there's capacity in those courses. So to your point, yes, they are popular courses. They always have been, and they will continue to be. But there are, generally speaking, across those sections, a few empty seats in each section.
Okay, so kind of like the same question with Dr. Arnold, what kind of students do we think and projections that this will speak out to over a few years as it grows?
Yeah. I would imagine, so currently the minor has about 140 students across the university. I would envision that over time, in exchange for the minor, that 140 will shift to certificate, but that will be over a period of time, obviously. If enrollment grows through the programs who've reached out to us from other colleges, then clearly we'll have to look at hiring personnel to address those demands. But that will be a really great problem to have.
So in full disclosure, I'm one of the people who teaches one of these very full courses. So in case you're wondering like why I'm asking these questions. So if we have that kind of growth, we have enrollment growth, do you feel supported that we'll be able to get those lines in this area?
Oh, 110%. We're already hiring 2 new instructors that will fulfill a management demand and a combination of management and marketing demand. And those folks will start in the fall semester. So yeah, we have the support from everybody at this end of the table to provide those resources when they're needed.
Do we have the room
Through the room.
and the new workforce ops business?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm like, but yes, so we've already done our class scheduling for fall in the new building, and we're still only at about 75% capacity in that building. And that is not using extensively the 8 a.m. slot. That is not using the evening slot. So yes, that building was designed for growth and expansion.
Dean Thrasher, there was some rumor going around that there were only 11 classrooms in the new College of Business building, as I understand it. We certainly have more than 11 classrooms in that building.
Yes, we have 21.
Ah.
Yes, we certainly do. And we continue to offer about 30% of our courses, both face-to-face and online. We don't have any, other than graduate programs, we don't have anything that's online only. But we do offer, particularly in some of our programs, the combination of online and face-to-face so that students who are trying to double major can take it online when the face-to-face conflicts with their other courses as well.
So I just wanted to, Dean Thrasher and I, obviously we go way back and this is my area, so I am supportive of this. I'm not trying to undermine any particular thing here. Just one of the things that I have to bring to the board is faculty perspective and the recognizing the tensions that we have as we continue to increase class sizes and streamline as we've had to do with the budget pressures that we talked about. And just to give an example, it's not a course that's on this list. You know, Regent Kurtz is in my class right now, and sad to say for him, it's a class that's 40% larger than the past. I have 80 more students in there. I can't deliver the same amount of engagement and help to those students that I've done in the past. I want to, you know, as I'm asking these questions about what kind of growth do we see, will it be supported of any of these? I think we need to continue to ask this because we focus so much on the and where we're alleviating a lot of those pressures is by growing class sizes, by trying to get streamlined on that. And there's a potential at some point of reaching a point where we're no longer doing what we say what makes us different, that the faculty do know their students. And so I'm fully in support of this. I just want to continue to try to make sure we're aware we're pushing up to that line of not doing what we say we are and not being able to meet those demands that we're creating. So I would hope to see at some point we back off on some things we don't, that aren't part of what we're doing, minor or other things.
Yeah, well, and the other thing I would add to that though too is the certificate alone won't grow the university's enrollment. What the certificates do is allow those students who are coming here or who are on the fence about coming here to see that there are ways to make really great use of their electives, their general electives, their extra requirements. If they are going to be finished in 3.5 years, they can stay 4 years and complete some additional credentials. So a lot of that increase too is a shuffling that students who maybe would have filled the rest of their schedule with general electives will now choose to add a business certificate instead. That puts out a lot more qualified product and a lot more qualified graduate for the workforce. And when we're doing that, then the resources will follow to ensure that we have the faculty to support those types of programs, because our corporate partners would step forward and say, you are producing exactly what we need. Let us help you continue to do that.
It's worth noting that some of those corporate citizens are offering these themselves as they inch into higher education. Microsoft and Google have courses that offer certificates. So I'd much rather have us doing that.
Yes, I agree completely.
So,
One
yeah,
thing that was-
questions?
I'm gonna add something.
Sure.
One of the things I was gonna add is that from like the student, like LinkedIn, like point of view, like this is such an excellent idea, because being to have from any other discipline besides, strictly going forward and all that entails, and being able to say that you have business fundamentals thing, like I can already see, like I can imagine the LinkedIn reactions in my head. Like that is a very great idea, and it will benefit the students in it. But kind of like to Shane's point, one thing I have noticed from the progression of me coming in 2021, when we were still had so many students online, like obviously in 2022 with more people getting back on campus coming out of the line, like the class sizes are going to get bigger, and everybody was expecting that and bracing for that. But even from 2022 to 2025, the classes have gotten, every class that I've had has gotten bigger and bigger every single year. And I think that a huge selling point that Western really differentiates itself in the Commonwealth is that you can get the same quality of education that you would get at the other places down the road, but you can get to know your professor better, and you can get to really build those connections with your faculty that can set you up for success, but also allow you to not have the fear that a lot of students have to be able to ask questions, get to know faculty, like, have a mentor in those sort of ways. And so I'm glad to hear that if, this is something that a lot of other disciplines on campus have people supporting it within their minor or stuff like that, that will be able to support it. And that was my big concern, because I would hate for us to lose sort of the foundation that we build our selling point across. Because I even have friends that work in like Top Guide and stuff like that. And the selling point of small class sizes where you get to know your faculty while also receiving a world-class education is what makes Western so great. And if we're just, trying to get more people in Gordon forward, but losing that, I think that you're kind of losing the plot. So I hope that when you move forward with this, we'll be able to support it, that we can still have the smaller class sizes. I feel like that's what makes Western so great.
100% agree. And my data analytics background has led me to do a whole lot of analysis
sure.
on those types of concerns. And currently, now, there are some outliers. There are some courses that are larger than we would like them to be because we have had faculty who retired in December. We allow people to take semesters. We have, female faculty who take maternity leave and those sorts of things. But over the past 5 years, our upper division courses are still averaging 30 in a class size. Our lower division classes are averaging 35 to 38 in the class size, even with the growth. Now, what that means is there are some faculty who feel that growth more. Part of that is also because we're seeing shifts in where students are choosing to major. And we can't always predict that.
That's very true.
We can't predict who will come in as a finance major versus a management major. And further than that, we can't predict who will come in as a finance major.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
But the analytics shows that overall, we are maintaining the class sizes that we feel are appropriate for our students and that our accrediting body feels are appropriate for our students. And that's why and that analytics also allows me now to start prioritizing our hiring so that the folks like Dr. Spiller and others who are feeling the effects of those retirements and other things can have some room.
And I would add to that, that if you look over the university, that's what's happening across all the colleges as we speak. If you look over the last 5 to 7 years, there really hasn't been a huge change. Most of them are under 30 went for each of the colleges. So we're still teaching upper division classes with less than 30 kids in them as we speak. And we're watching those numbers and constantly thinking about the trade-off, as you said, Shane, how many people you have versus the type of education you are. And we're nowhere near our peer groups in a large organization. So that's part of what we think. We look at the analytics all the time. I shared it actually at the last Dean's meeting. And it came from Evelyn, who had done some work, and we shared it across the whole group of us to make sure where we were and understand how it's changed. And we're talking about minimal change when we look at the means.
That's kind of the point, though. We're not supposed to be with our peer groups in this area. We're supposed to be a standout leader. That Western, the experience that you get at Western is so substantially greater than anything that we're comparing to. Like, I kind of get caught up in the whole comparing us to our target institutions because we should be like the shining light on the hill.
We are,
so to say. And I believe we are. And I just want to make sure to clarify that we can continue to do that because I think that in comparison, when you're a student that's looking for somewhere in our cost range, our student body range, the facilities that we offer, and you can still have that class size, ratio, I guess you could say. I think that we should just be blowing it out of the water.
What is the average, Provost Fisher, what is the average class size of our peer institution?
Somewhere between 30 and 40.
Right, and ours is under 30, and it hasn't changed in the past 5 to 7 years.
No.
I appreciate your feeling it.
Mm-hmm.
N equals 1 is not generalizable. So we're working hard using data to drive our decisions, and we are maintaining that individual focus and class size under 30. So I appreciate your feeling on it. But I don't want anyone to have the general impression that all of a sudden our average class size has gone from 20 to 40, because that's not true.
I would say and we had this conversation yesterday, actually, and there are pockets, and Evelyn said that. There are pockets that we are paying attention to that we're going to have to make some investments in for that exact reason. You're right. I mean, but that's our job, right? Our job is to identify those as we go along and to move resources strategically to the areas that are growing like that, where we have to take care of them.
Yeah.
But this is where the budget model really works. Okay, so when you think about what existed in 2016, business college was not growing then. It was pretty static. But if it had been, like our College of Health and Human Services, all of a sudden you would feel the pressure around enrollment, but the dollars wouldn't necessarily flow because of that enrollment. What you have now, Potter College is now the smallest college on our campus, right? College of Business is the fastest growing college on our campus. And so what you see are resources flowing to the fastest growing college. And so that's on the deans to take a look at the class size, to work hand in glove with the provost to adjust and to relieve that pressure, right? So Shane, absolutely you're feeling it. That's a good thing because you have a dean who's paying attention, additional resources coming for it. The same thing happens in a college that's declining. So there are resource constraints that get created with declining enrollment that you feel in other places. And so again, dollars following students and course taking patterns, decision-making decentralized to the college level. I actually think it's a really good thing. And Sam, to your credit, I'm not saying you're not feeling it. You absolutely are. And so we gotta get that kind of back into kilter, but
Well,
across the institution.
remember, there's a little lag too, right? As things grow, there's a lag to get to it at that point. It's not immediate at that. And that's why it takes us a little bit of time because we work on budgets in yearly sessions. And that changing that takes a little bit of work, especially as you said, Shane, in a little tighter budget, right? Where there's not lots of money where I can just say, okay, go for it. I mean, there has to be done in a strategic model, and that's what we're working.
So, Mr. President, to go back to one thing, we're all fans of the grant model.
Yeah.
We're all supportive of the grant model. We truly believe in it. But when we did our budget cut this last year, when tackling fairs, across the board budget cutting. And I've heard multiple deans about that. It did not flow in a strategic way. It wasn't across the board. And that was the budget realignment strategy. So I think that may be why we're seeing even more pressure. We didn't follow the principles of grant as we did that. So.
And I will remind folks, we didn't do that for a pretty specific reason. Somebody help me remember what that was.
We were told that we wouldn't pass the budget if we didn't have those numbers.
And so we wanted, and the deans wanted for that to follow the ramp process. We didn't have that figured out by the time the budget was here. And we were told as leadership that there would be opposition to passing that budget. Shane, you were part of that conversation. And so we did it across the board because we needed the budget passed. Just a reminder that it was you and Regent Brinkley who made that request.
I would say, but what we've done now, I mean, in all the stuff we've done since then, it has been done in a way. I mean, TAAs, and now what will be returned BSIP over the last year is done in proportion of who lost people, because it has to be done, right? If you lost 11 people, we can't give you $2 and give somebody else a bunch, or even it out, because places like Ogden, who in the both BSIPs have taken a pretty big hit, have to get the people back to be able to do what you want to do, Sam, which is have small classes, right? And not have a class of 400 sitting in Ogden, but a class of 30 sitting in Ogden that takes a biology class at that time.
And I think going forward, Shane, to your point, they should, any reduction, if there is one, should be allocated according to the ramp model. I completely agree with that. We were at a place where we needed the budget passed, otherwise we would have had a whole other set of issues, right? And so I appreciate the point, but just to remind folks that how we got there.
I would add too, though, that as we are able to hire faculty, I'm going to brag on this university and particularly on my college. We just finished an economics search for an assistant professor that had 400 applicants. And we landed and just finished the hiring for a young man from Michigan State who could have literally gone to any university in the country. And he chose to come to Western. And so sometimes when we're on the inside of an organization, it is very hard to see as compared to those we're competing with. And the fact that 400 individuals wanted a shot at a position at WKU speaks very highly of what we're doing here.
I think this conversation has been good, and I think it's a great example of how AI doesn't bring content.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with wanting it all, Sam.
Yes.
I hope you feel that way all your life. Won't always get it all. Any other comments, discussions? We're gonna put it to bed. And we'll take a motion. So moved. Regent Kurtz. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, like sign. Action item AA2 is passed.
Great. AA3 is the approval of an undergrad certificate in business law offered through the College of Gordon, through Gordon Ford College of Business. Oh no, Evelyn.
You know, he said that to me every time I walked in his office. This one, actually, I'm excited about both of these programs, but this one I am particularly excited about. This is a collaboration with Potter College, particularly political science and sociology. So one of the things that started the conversation around this one is we're getting an increasing number of business students who are choosing to go on to law school. We have some very successful examples. One is an attorney for the U.S. Army and is stationed in Fort Knox currently. Many of them are part of very successful practices in the region and in the area. And so we started a conversation around what if we gave them some additional training, additional credentials, additional opportunity within our college and our university to help those finance majors or accounting majors or HR who aspire to law school, first of all. Secondly, every discipline in the college touches on the legal aspects in their discipline. But this allows those students also to really dig deeper. So as an example, my daughter's an HR generalist at Mac. She's dealing with law and legal issues every single day. So to the extent that we can graduate students who enter as entry-level employees and have a really great understanding of the law, we're now reducing the risk for the companies who hire them because they're going to get great employees. This will also be a popular certificate, I think, for students across the university, our pre-law majors, others across Potter and other areas of the university. But this one was done collaboratively, as I mentioned, across the colleges, but led by the three full-time faculty in our college who are also attorneys. They led that discussion, led that charge, and I'm really proud of the outcome.
Comments, questions, discussion? Hey, come on.
I got my wits in on the previous.
If there are no questions or comments, I'll entertain the motion.
So moved.
Second to approve action item AA3. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, like sign, motion passes.
And again, I'd like to say, you notice the interdisciplinary of all of this and the ability for students across the whole campus to be able to take advantage of all different types of programs. And that's huge as we move forward. Next one is approval of sabbatical leave for faculty. You have a list of faculty. Please remember that they were recommended for sabbatical leave by their department, the chair or director, the college sabbatical advisory committee, the dean, and by myself. So it's gone through a process to be able to be even thought about. They have to put a nomination in, and the university, and they have to put in what I would call a application as well as a compelling reason of why they need a sabbatical and what they will do on it. So everybody gets a chance to read that, and everybody gets a chance to think about whether that what they did is important for their career as they move forward. As they say, professional academic enrichment for their career. And what we have today is 9 faculty from 3 colleges that have been recommended for sabbatical.
Comments about sabbaticals, Shane?
As always, when we get to this point, I just thank the university for continuing faculty development. It's a great faculty, and also leads to this academic renewal to allow people sometimes to redevelop themselves in new areas. It's one of the better benefits that we have.
It's not a vacation.
No, no, and I would say that the group that has just come back and you have to put in, of course, then tell us what you've done and have been amazing with some of the stuff they've done. They've been around the world. They have done huge numbers of papers, all kinds of scholarly activities, changed their whole area of scholarship. As Shane said, it's just amazing to read.
All right, any other comments, questions? If not, we'll entertain a motion for approval of the recommended sabbatic. Motion. Got a motion?
A second.
Count a second. Regent Nichols. Any further discussion? Not all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion passes.
AA5 is one of my favorites of the year, which is approval of university distinguished professor appointment. And the appointments are for Dr. Ru Zhang who's a professor in chemistry, and Dr. Anthony Harkins, who's a professor in history. And again, and just to remind you, it's a review of nominations, and it's done by the UDP Professional Selection Committee. They look at and make a recommendation to myself, and then I make a recommendation to the president, who then says yes or no. If I can have a few minutes, I'd love to tell you about the two people.
I think that would be appropriate.
Dr. Zhang has brought distinction to the university through his teaching, research, and public service, and is an exemplary faculty member in the chemistry department in the Ogden College of Science and Engineering. His research in the development of novel methods for oxidation transformation has earned him international recognition in his field. This is demonstrated by research productivity of 31 publications, and probably even the best part of it, with 29 different students at WKU. His external funding has been over $2.1 million, and he's had over 100 students work in his lab to get research experience. Additionally, in the classroom, Dr. Zhang always takes a personal touch with his students, ensuring that they learn not only chemistry, but professional skills, emotional maturity, and independence. He is the kind of professor whose door is always open for students and colleagues, and he participates actively in departmental decisions and decision-making. And I think he's the perfect person to be a university distinguished professor. And he's here today. I'd like to say
it's such a great honor and also a pleasure to be here with all of you. And also thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to express my profound gratitude and appreciation for this great honor. Now, I'm particularly actually grateful to this university that gave me the privilege and also support over almost 2 decades. Allow me to teach actually a student in classroom and work with them in the research lab. And more importantly, together we serve the community in a variety of ways. I always actually think the biggest reward for my job is my student success. I want to thank actually my former and current students. I always actually told them, yeah, your success is make my job meaningful. And also, yeah, that's actually, this is definitely a milestone for my career. That will make me actually stay more humble and more grateful and in my daily job. So thank you very much. And allow me actually here to say a few words. And after this, I have to leave because I have a class. And I need to catch up. Yeah.
Thank you for obviously bringing the human touch to your classroom. Yeah, Melissa, you can back me up on this, but I remember it's been a long time now when I started medical school. We had classmates from Harvard and Yale and all over, and it was apparent real quickly that daggone the students from Western, you know, they were really good. And it was because of these things that Shane was talking about, and which we talked. They had a lot of personal touch from professors that those of us that had gone to big R1 university didn't have. And I think it's professors like yourself who obviously gave that personal attention that it does make a difference, big difference. So thank you for being here and congratulations on a well-deserved award.
Thank you.
It's a big deal.
The second person is Dr. Anthony Harkins. He served WKU with distinction and excellence. He is an engaging and compassionate teacher whose teaching style helps students think critically about culture and cultural intersections in a variety of ways. His extensive research commitment has enriched the WKU experience, created cultural engagement opportunities for the wider community, and engaged young people in the discipline of history. Dr. Harkins has long served on the Cultural Enhancement Series Committee and through his role as creating meaningful opportunities for people in the region to experience interactions with artists, thinkers, and performers. Flowing from his own experience as a Fulbright scholar, he also works to make the experience accessible to WKU, other WKU faculty as the WKU Faculty Fulbright Liaison. He's also a scholar. Dr. Harkins is an Appalachian Studies scholar who has made a national impact in the field, which has brought distinction to the history department and WKU. His longstanding interest in pop culture, images of Appalachia, recently culminated in the production of an award-winning book, The Appalachian Reckoning, in 2019, a book responding critically to J.D. Vance's best-selling memoirs, Hillbillyology, and his simplistic and problematic portrayal of poverty and Appalachian culture. Dr. Harkins' commitment to excellence in scholarship, teaching, and service certainly makes him the perfect person to be a university distinguished professor. And he's not here today. He is out of town, but he sent me an email this morning. He said, "I'm deeply honored to have been selected as the UDP committee and by the UDP committee and the provost as a new member of WKU's University Distinguished Professor faculty. Please accept my sincere apologies for not being able to join you today. I am on sabbatical this semester and unfortunately have previously planned travel outside of Bowling Green, and I would be happy to attend a future Board of Regents meeting and have a chance to meet with all of you in the future. If I am confirmed, I look forward to serving on the UDP committee to advance the university's mission and to build connections between WKU and the broader community. Now more than ever, we must make clear WKU's importance, not only as the economic engine, but also as the vital educational and cultural hub, fostering civic engagement and making a tangible, positive impact on the region and the globe."
Wow.
So I will invite him into a future meeting so you get a chance to meet him.
Make sure that happens.
It will.
All right. I'll entertain approval for 2 distinguished professors.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion by Regent Nichols, second by Shane. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Very good. Those are all our action items. We have some information items.
I do. Just a couple. We're reopening the RN to BSN program. And Dean Basta is here just for a quick tell you what we're doing.
Okay, so this one's a little bit different. I know you've heard about a lot of new innovative programs today. Ours is actually reopening or bringing back a program that was sunsetted back before I got here. So our RN to BSN program is exactly that. If you have an associate's in nursing or an ASN degree, it's an entirely online degree in 1 year where you earn your bachelor's of science in nursing. The reason why it was sunsetted was reallocation of resources. And there are lots of RN to BSN programs online that students can do. So they felt like that was a better use of our resources at the time. However, since I've been here for the past 6 years, all I hear is, can you bring your RN to BSN program back? Because the WKU program is so much better than some of the others. And so we decided with the new change in leadership, it was time to bring this program back. And so we were hoping to have 20 to start in the fall, moving it upwards, probably up to around 50-ish, maybe more, but that would require some additional resources. So we're hoping to fill the 20. I have no doubt we'll fill 20 like this. Owensboro Health and TJ Sampson Med Center all would like to do direct billing for their ASN RNs that they currently have so they can earn their BSN. So I have no doubt that it's going to fill very quickly, and we will probably have to move that past 20 very soon. So that is why we're bringing it back. Hanover did a study and gave us the budgeting credit hour number we needed to be competitive in the market. And so that has been approved. And so we are here to move it forward. Any questions?
Questions?
I'm sorry, tell me what BSN stands for.
It's the Bachelor of Science in Nursing. It's our 4-year nursing degree.
Thank you.
Yes.
Awesome. There also was a shift about almost a decade ago that places were not going to be hiring associate degree nurses. They really preferred a BSN. We talk about how that market has ebbed and flowed.
Sure. So for accreditation for hospitals, they really were pushing to have a higher percentage of BSN prepared nurses than the ASN prepared nurses. So just so you all know, they both are registered nurses, and so they get the same job. They're essentially 2-year or 4-year degree are prepared to do the same job. It's just the BSN has a higher level of education, right? And so there were hospitals requiring a higher percentage of BSN prepared nurses, and then they backed off of that, especially with COVID, as we backed off of everything related to healthcare. But the hospitals are wanting to get back there because a BSN prepared nurse has a higher level of education, can do a lot of times moves into a master's degree, can move into administration. Some go on for a doctorate. So it also helps then, I should say, to we broke our chain of LPN to ASN that we have currently at WKU. You can earn that entirely online minus their clinicals. Then they can go straight on for the RN to BSN, and then they can go on for a master's and a DNP. So we kind of broke the chain a few years ago, so now we're also bringing that back. So it's to meet student demand, but also for our healthcare organization, SPI, who also have been asking repeatedly for us to bring the program back.
Something interesting there to me is the competitive landscape. So there's a mixture of online and face-to-face clinical courses. All these things.
Yeah, this one's entirely online though. Yes. There's no clinical because they already have their RN degree, so it's earning a lot of their gen ed requirements and some of the other requirements to be associated with the BSN degree. But what we did, and I didn't share, is that we did make this at least innovative and new in the curriculum to keep up with Louisville and what they've done. So you can earn up to 18 credit hours for practice experience. So if you've earned credentials in nursing, which is fairly standard, they will count towards or up to 18 credit hours coming in towards the 60-hour degree. So it is new and improved.
Just one of those things that scares me on the advertising I see on TV when they say, I'm a nurse and I took my test when I wanted
Entirely
to.
online, yeah.
Like, I don't want you as a nurse.
So I think what's important here is they're already nurses and they're already out practicing. And most of the time it's their hospitals paying for them to earn the additional credential.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you very much, Dean Boss.
Thank you.
And the next item
Yeah.
is a very important one.
I would not be doing my job if I didn't remind you of Saks as we come down the homes at this point. Oh, we're gonna go to the slides. I didn't know if we were going to the slides or not. I'm gonna leave the slides. I don't think you have a copy of them in your thing. I'm gonna say two things. I'm gonna say where we are, where we're headed, and what QEP is at this point. So where we've been is we're in the reaffirmation, of course, the 10-year reaffirmation of Saks, COC, and that is certainly underway. We submitted our compliance certificate report in September, which was reviewed by an off-site group and Saks review, and we got it back in November. The off-site committee gave us some feedback in some areas, and since then we have responded to their feedback and supplied them with what in some cases they wanted, which is as little as, could you put this in a table so it's easier to read? And sure, and we've done that. And what we've also done is finish the QEP, which you saw up there a minute ago, which is called Top of Rise, and I'll talk about that in a second. That has gone in, and we have hired a person from the faculty to be the new director of the QEP, which is Dr. Ren Mills. So that's where we are. So what's left? Well, the fun part is left. They will be here March 11th through the 14th. They will have meetings over a 3-day period. And as they walk out the door, we'll talk to the president and I about what they're happy with, what they're not happy with. And we will get to know all of that. But they will meet with everybody on campus. They will meet with faculty, students, administrators, and the BOR. Not all, but a set group. We just got, 3 days ago, kind of what they're looking for, and they have asked for 3 BOR members. And I will be tapping some people here soon so that you know what's coming. And not only that, you know what the date is, and we can tell you times so we can see if you're free and make sure you're there. So that's what we're working on right now, is getting the schedule together. They will be on campus. They can interview you, and if they need more BOR members, if I call you on the phone, I would ask you to be willing to get on a Zoom. They can ask for anything at any time. So they kind of have control for the week as we hang out with them. So if they can say we need more faculty members, and we have to go find them immediately. So that's where we are. Lots of it will be about the QEP and talking about the QEP, and the other parts will be about what they asked us to look at and make comments on and changes about. And I think we're ready. I think the comments we got back were minimal. As the person running this, which is Beth Labus, has done an incredible job and made it a lot less painful than it's been on most campuses, because she's been ahead of the game in all cases. And her last line to me today was, I fully expect WKU to be on the reaffirmation list. She sees it as we have done what we have needed to do to be able to continue on as an institution. So QEP. So QEP is called Top or Rise. It came out of what would be business and industry as well as careers. When we go out, the thing I constantly hear out there, and so does everybody else, and we've done some other things out of the College of Business and other areas, is our students are the hardest working students that they actually hire. They're also well prepared with a knowledge set and skill set, but where they struggle at times has to do with, some people call them soft skills. We don't like to call them soft skills anymore, but they struggle with certain areas like that. And what you've seen in the state is the state has seen the same thing and have heard the same thing from the businesses that are moving in. So the state created something called the graduate profile, which had 10, what they think are 10 important areas that if we can teach our students these extra areas that are already being done in classes, and they know what they are, will allow them to have a better chance at a career or finding their first job and moving out there. And I wanted to give you a list of what they thought were those 10 things. And we're working with the state too to do this. So when I get to it, I'll get my hand to work today. The 10 are effective communication is one that, another one is critical thinking and creativity. Another one is adaptability and leadership. Collaboration, as well as informed decision-making. There's 10 of them. Those are just 5 of the 10. The idea is we do teach this, and it's taught throughout all classes, and it's especially taught in the Gen Ed, but we haven't done a good enough job. And our QEP is about helping faculty identify what they do in their classrooms of these and telling us how they do that, as well as telling the students and being, I guess, direct with the students about how we're teaching them these parts. So that when a student gets out, they understand that you wrote this and you did it in the way we did it so that you could learn how to communicate in writing and speech and those types of things. So we have a whole plan. I didn't give you it. If you would like it, I'd gladly send it to you. It was only 98 pages. And welcome to our world at this point, but it spells out the whole process by which we will start from square zero to getting it into the colonnade and having it, the students understand what they're learning, as well as the faculty being direct with the students on how these assignments help them learn. And it has to do with all kinds of things that go on between point A and point B. And I think it's a great move. The state has a high priority in this, and we were on top of it as it started in the state, and we've been able to roll it into the QEP, and I think it will only help our students to be able to do what they want to do in the future, which I hope is to find a successful career.
You're in on those first 5 things again.
Yeah, I can give you them all. I mean, effective communication, critical thinking and creativity, quantitative reasoning, and it's in the, they're in the summary too. Cultural competency and that kind of stuff. You can see what, and they're defined, and we've worked with the state to create rubrics to be able to measure them, and we are in the process. Part of this is that once we have done this intentionally within the colonnade and you know what you should get in the class, by the time you get done or get near the end of the colonnade, it's about how do we get you ready in career services to be successful. And that career services plays a huge role in this too.
Thank you. I found it. I just missed it.
No, that's fine. But that's where we are. That will be part of their evaluation of us and whether our assessments work and how they think we can change it in that sense. It's a 5-year plan, so it goes over 5 years.
While these 10 things cover a lot of things, it makes me think of the book we talked about, Knowledge Town. And it is a lot of what we have strived to do is being part of the community and meeting the needs of the community and preparing students for competency and lots of different things. But that book, I think, is a nice prep for whatever discussions may occur with the folks that come in.
Yeah, I should tell you that, this was vetted across the university. There were choices, like 10 choices of what we wanted the QEP to be. There was surveys sent out. There were about what was originally what you would like to have. We have a committee of, I think, 35 people who have worked on this. It's been owned by the university, and this is the direction we've gone in. So I think I'm going to say I think we do this really well on this campus. I just don't think we do it intentionally. How's that? To tell people what they get. I think our students, I was incredibly excited and rewarded the other day. I went to, and I go to most of them, I go to career fairs on campus because that gives me an opportunity to see students at what I hope is their best and them showing what they've learned while they've been here. So I was at the business career fair looking for a job first and then looking at the students. People always ask, "Do you looking for a job?" No, I don't think so. And
It is year 4.
it is year 4, I know. And we were talking, and I was impressed by the way they were dressed. The fact that I looked at resumes they had, which were amazing. I looked at the communication, the eye contact, all kinds of things that I think are all part and parcel of what we're looking at here as we move forward. And that make, as Sam said, make this place special. And that makes me excited, right? That's the excitement for me. And I see it across this whole campus when I go to those, right? And that's the reason now when we hold them, from when I first came, there were maybe 20 groups there. Now there's 100 groups, all wanting as many students as they can. So that's a huge change for us as we've been.
We haven't talked today about the Center for Innovation and stuff, but so much is going on out there and you see it in the paper a lot now. Some aspect, somebody's coming in and that's a real great thing for our university to be doing for this region. Our Center for Innovative Teaching and Learning too, we don't talk about that.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Which is amazing.
That's a long enough academic committee.
Sorry.
Chairman, I'm gonna turn it back over to you.
I will now call on Regent Brody, Finance and Budget Committee.
Thank you, Chairman. Okay. Susan? Susan, you're welcome to introduce the action items if you'd like.
No, I mean, you can introduce those.
Okay, well, you have somebody to introduce.
Right, so, we're, Mary McKinley with, Fortis. Those are our, external auditors are here. She's here to present the findings of the TV and radio audit and also the NCAA agreed upon procedures. And, Jordan Basham is here, who is the interim director of radio and TV. And, I'm gonna step back over there and let Mary take over. So Mary, you've got your slides in here. Great, thank you. Go through them from there.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for having me here today. My name is Mary McKinley. I'm a partner at Forbes Mazars, at least for the next 3.5 months when I'll be retiring. So that's my big news today. Normally you see Jennifer Williams here, she's the partner on the engagement. She had a scheduling conflict, but this gave me a great opportunity to come back on campus and visit and see all the new developments here. So I'm quite glad to be here today. I also have online with me, Caitlin Welp. She was the in charge on the engagement. I don't know if she'll be on screen, but she is definitely online with us. So thanks to Caitlin and her team, we were able to get through this. There's Caitlin, very good. I'd also like to say a big thank you to the Western team here, Ronaldo, Susan, Jordan, and others who helped us here. Again, for a very smooth process with the audit for the TV and radio station. So I would like to just give you the quick results here. Good news is always easy and quick to give. So I have that pleasure today to be able to tell you you have unmodified opinions on both radio and TV audited financial statements. We have no internal control matters that we need to report to you. We had everything wrapped up and reported within the required timelines. We had no new standards this year to adopt, so the results are very consistent and comparable from one year to the next. I will say that you will have a new standard coming for this upcoming year, June 30, 2025, for compensated absences, both for TV, radio, and also for the university. So that will be a new twist with the financial statements upcoming for the next year that you see. We will also go to some financial highlights very quickly here. This is the summary statement of net position for the radio station. And again, very consistent performance and financial position as what you have seen in the past. You can see the 3 years of data here, and that demonstrates exactly that consistency. Radio's net position decreased by about $105,000 this year. Last year was about $196,000 of decrease. But the good thing is that we had increased investment income of about $492,000. There was also grants from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, or CPB, approximately $263,000, as well as substantial resources of appropriations from the university of approximately $890,000. Here's a snapshot of the TV's statement of net position summary items as well. And again, had some increases in investments of about $92,000 this year. The grants from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting of $868,000, along with WKU appropriations of about $691,000. And again, no significant changes from year to year with the TV results. The next few slides, yes, ma'am.
I guess, just a deficit, and it looks like there was a deficit in 22 and then less than 1 in 23, and we're back up again.
Yes. I'll rely on Susan and Jordan to help me answer those questions in detail, but, from our standpoint, knowing that these departments, TV and radio, departments of the university, which are subsidized by the university and by the CPB, those deficits aren't concerning from our standpoint. The reasons for those deficits, I don't know, Susan.
Jordan would probably be better equipped.
I think some of it, there was a lease disposition, and then change in carry forward policy impacted a little bit too, I think.
Does that help answer your question?
Yeah.
I also know that a big part of the expenses, the income and expenses of the TV and radio station result from not only salaries, but also with the pension liabilities and expenses and the other post-retirement benefits expenses, and those are variable between. You do have in materials the full letter to this group, to those charged with governance. Here are some snapshots, if you will, of some of the required communication items in that letter. Our responsibilities on the audit scope did not change from year to year, so very predictable there. We also issued unmodified or clean opinions on both radio and TV stations for the year ended June 30, 2025. And again, consistent with prior years, significant accounting policies are listed in note 1 to each of those sets of financial statements. We also highlight significant accounting estimates. Those both, again, revolve around the defined benefit pension plan and the other post-employment benefit plan as well. We did see 3 audit adjustments between TV and radio stations' financial statements, 2 for TV and 1 for radio. We have the details of those if you'd like to know more about those, but again, nothing that we needed to report to you as a significant internal control related to those adjustments. We also had no uncorrected adjustments. So I'll stop here with that first motion and ask for any other questions.
Questions, comments? With regards to public broadcasting, there's rumblings, I think that some of the financing may go away or go down. Would that be the grants portion in here?
Yes, that would be
And
correct.
this may not be the time to ask it, but what happens?
That's a good question, Dr. Bale, and something actually the board and I are meeting next week to talk about this, about how the potential of those reductions would impact your budget and going forward. It's, as we know, with a lot of things going on right now, it's on and off and on and off. So again, I'm working with Jordan to address that.
I'd also say, since Jordan reports to me, not only is he more than capable of navigating, managing through the institution service that we provide through public television and public broadcasting and NPR, our local radio station. It's an important regional service. And so we would find ways to have continuity of operations, even if the federal funding were to dry up. Would it be the same? No. But I think I believe in, personally and as an institution, we believe in the importance of media. And you all recall that there's no institutional control over storytelling or news reporting. And I'm proud of the work that they do, the way in which they report the regional news. We continue to make sure that was available to our region.
Any other questions or comments?
If not, I'd entertain a motion to accept the separate auditor's report and financial statements for WKYU TV and WKYU FM radio for the year ended June 30, 2024.
Second. Motion been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? NCAA.
Very good. So we did prepare and deliver the agreed upon procedures report for the NCAA for the year ended June 30. Report dated January 15th and was submitted on time to the president, and then also that reports in through the NCAA. You'll notice that in the detail of that statement of revenue and expenses for the NCAA operations, it was somewhere north of $45 million revenues and expenses. We noted no significant reportable matters in that agreed upon procedures report.
Also, the changes, there were no significant changes in what the NCAA dictated that we do as far as the procedures for the NCAA agreed upon procedures this year. Now, we do expect some changes coming up for June 30, 2026. Once the name, image, and likeness funding and some of those payments start to come through, we do anticipate that in that year we will have some new procedures related to NIL funding. Are there any questions with regard to the agreed upon procedures for the NCAA?
Any questions or comments?
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
I would entertain a motion that we accept the independent accountant's report for applying agreed upon procedures for the NCAA compliance for the year ended June 30, 2024.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you so much. Item 3.2, statement of revenues and expenditures, 6 months.
So, the good news is that the second quarter budget was actual. I have to highlight is that we improved our performance, almost 15 million over prior year. So that's great news for, the entire campus. I've got to commend the deans and vice presidents for working through these tough, challenging times, but we're getting the job done. So I'll drill down into, a bit more of this in detail now. So if you look at total revenue, we're at 70% of the budget this year as compared to 67% in the prior year. That's 15.2 million or 6.9 million more than the prior year. So drilling down into revenue a bit more. So net tuition revenue has improved almost 7 million over prior year. And just to once again explain the term of net tuition revenue, which is something that Dr. Caboni got the campus used to using when he became president, which is really the more appropriate way of looking at tuition revenue. Because this is the actual profit, where even you're not supposed to say that in this world, but that we're making on our tuition revenue. So you look at gross tuition revenue and then you back out institutional financial aid. So you'll see that strategy is working. And so our freshman class was down slightly, but we made up the decline in freshman students through some improvements in our scholarshiping model. So again, that's really good news of about 7 million from the prior year.
Susan, can I make a comment on that? Because one of the things that we know has happened nationally is the discount rate, the percentage of tuition that's discounted through scholarship has been escalating year over year. We were following a similar trend here at the university, which was biting into net tuition revenue. And so one of the things we've worked really hard on the past several years, and this is the outcome of that work, we begin to see an increase in our net tuition revenue, not necessarily by increasing enrollment. We'll remind everyone, we're not focused on getting bigger. We're focused on getting better, having better retention, better graduation rates. And we're still able to do that while growing net tuition revenue. So I just want to point out this is the result of a lot of people's really hard work, including enrollment management and our deans, who are now full partners at the table around shaping that class, creating a more talented first-year class that comes in every year, and the great gains we've had since 2017, both in retention, graduation, and quality of that class.
Looking at the other components of revenue, just as a reminder, going back to state appropriation that was approved as part of our budget, we did see a 4.5% inflationary increase. We have to thank our legislators. That's the first inflationary base increase we've had in many, many years in the state. And a $2.2 million increase to offset a very significant increase in fire and tornado insurance across all institutions. Grants and contracts, another good news story as we try to improve our status in the research game. We did see the typical increase in our Pell and and CAP grants, and we hope that that continues. But more important than that is our extramurally funded research was up 9% over the prior year. So again, kudos to the deans and all the faculty that are working hard to improve those numbers. If you go to the category of sales and service, I'd just like to point this out. There's a lot of athletic related revenue in that category. That's up about $1.5 million over prior year. And that directly relates to football game guarantee. So I like to say that Alabama was Johnny on the spot and sent us our check very quickly. And so there you go, Shane. Maybe you had some influence there. And Ohio State, they drugged their heels and didn't get it to us. And so maybe you can have some influence on LSU when we play them the next year.
Yeah, I've got a lot of influence.
So anyway, our other categories of revenue tracking well. Again, total revenue up slightly over prior year, 70% as opposed to 67% in prior year. On the expense side, good news on the expense side as well through a lot of expense management. Again, across the university, deans and vice presidents working with tighter budgets, but learning to and helping us all manage those, going down into those categories. So if you look at your personnel category, our wages and salaries are down slightly from 49% to 47%. As a reminder, we did get a 2% salary increase, so it's not that. It's just the number of filled FTEs have declined slightly. You'll see a corresponding decline in the fringe benefits. Some of that is a reduction, at least this year and next year, in our pension liability from the state. And commingled in that, though, and kind of masked in that, is a significant increase we're seeing in health insurance, which I know the provost and I are working diligently with the benefit committee to try and get that, or try and mitigate that some and get that back under control. It's a nationwide problem that everyone is facing. So on your direct expenses, again, to offset on the revenue side, we're seeing that increase in the Pell and CAP grants. Good news is our supplies and expense budgets are down pretty significantly, 60% to 48%. So that's good news. Maintenance is down again, thanks to our facility staff working diligently on that. And then travel down as well from 63% to 41%. I will say this, it's a lot of that reduction that we saw in travel is related to just by chance athletic travel, fewer games that we had to fly to or things such as that. Our faculty are still traveling and doing their professional development. So that's all I have on the second quarter budget versus actual. Overall, from my perspective, and I've talked with everybody, I think this is excellent news. And we continue. I mean, probably the deans and vice presidents are really tired of seeing my face every month. We run monthly results and meet with the deans and vice presidents to make sure that we're on track and forecasting out to what we look like at the end of the year. So everything is pointing positively right now.
I'd just say tremendous work in the first two quarters. I know that there won't be the revenue there as much in quarters 3 and 4, but hopefully you'll continue to make other improvements and we'll get a good number in Q4. Any questions or comments?
Could you speak to just a little bit looking forward, how we'll see the visa effect as we move forward?
So we don't release monthly results to the board, but we have run January results. And even with visa factored in, as you can reminder, that's that voluntary separation incentive plan where we paid out 1 year of salary in January to those employees that chose to depart. That was about $4 million, a $4 million hit in January that will somewhat even itself out by the end of the year. And we are still, as of the end of January, factoring that in. If you factor it out, we still made improvement in January. Factoring it in, we're still about approaching 12 million better than the prior year.
Any other questions or comments?
I'm going to add my thanks to everyone in this room, certainly the deans and vice presidents, Susan's team, to our entire community who's learning how to manage monthly budgets. And then also to our budget staff who's becoming more professional in their support of deans and able to tell deans and VPs, no, you cannot do that, which is sometimes hard to do to your boss. Susan has no problem telling me no. But I'm appreciative that we're still able to do the things as an institution that we need to do. I'm thankful this is a community-wide effort to be disciplined and on budget. And it requires all of us doing that work.
All right, I'd entertain a motion to accept for filing the statement of revenues and expenditures for the 6 months ended December 31st, 2024 and 2023. Second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Susan, second quarter financial statement.
Yeah, so this is second quarter financial statements. Just as a reminder, these are unaudited. We prepare them in-house. And our auditors, as Mary was here today, Jennifer will be here back in, I guess, October or November of this year to present our annual audit. But these are unaudited. And so I chose not to throw up a bunch of numbers at you. I thought that probably wasn't very helpful, and really just drill down to some highlights in the balance sheet and income statement. And all news is positive that our total net position and unrestricted net position increased 76 million on the total net position and 11 million respectively. And if you really, the 76 million has a lot to do with the capital investment that we're seeing on campus. So really, I tell people to really look closer at the increase in the unrestricted net position. That ties a little bit closer to what you're seeing, that our $15 million improvement, basically year over year. Cash equivalents, we are up slightly over prior year, about 3.1 million. And that represents about 84 days of cash on hand as defined by Moody's. Moody's is now saying that for an institution like us, we really should not fall below 80 days of cash on hand. So, and then just as a reminder, if you chose to really take a deep dive into these financial statements, the unrestricted cash and equivalents, those represents the bond proceeds for the Gordon Ford College of Business right up there, and the Press Box Fieldhouse project going on right up there. We can't, in other words, we can't use them for anything other than those projects. On the income statement, increase in net position, again, 61.8 million. And net to, I have to always couch this second bullet here. I've talked about it before, but statements, financial statements have to be driven by GASB requirements, and GASB, how they define net tuition revenue is different than how institutions define net tuition revenue. And what I mean by that is that GASB also includes not just institutional aid, but also your federal aid and your Pell and your CAP and your state. So once you do that, your net tuition revenue becomes negative. Again, I'll remind the board, we talked about this at the audit. This is something that institutions across the nation, CFOs, are trying to work with GASB so that they can change that reporting mechanism so that we're comparing apples to apples. And the state appropriation increase on our income statement beyond that small increase in inflationary is primarily being driven by the capital appropriations, which is primarily the asset preservation. So that is all I have on the financial statements.
Thank you, Susan. Any other questions or comments, Susan? Thank you. Next, Mr. Bruce Wiseman for our quarterly internal audit report.
Thank you, Regent Brody. Try to make this a quick update for you all today. This is my typical quarterly update, but I've got things out of order today because I think they make more sense. We'll start off with our team updates. So our student intern, Ellen Henderson, graduated in December, with a 4.0 GPA and honors. She got her bachelor's in accounting, and she was a finalist for the Ogden Foundation Scholar Award. So just wanted to put some kudos out there for Ellen. This is one of those experiential learning experiences that we talk about here at WKU all the time. And my office is happy to participate in that. And I know Ellen had a great experience with us, and she's going to move on and work full-time with Forbes, maybe with Mary. So in addition, you all may have met Caitlin Durham. She's our senior internal auditor. Since we met last time, she passed her third and final CIA exam. So she's now a certified internal auditor. You've got 2 CIA running around campus now, her and I. And
It's not spy.
it's not spy.
Okay.
It's not. She would normally be here today to hear all these wonderful things, but she's also got a new job title. She's at home with little Livy, and everyone's doing well, mom, dad, and baby. And she'll be back at the start of April. So, all right, now for the regular boring audit stuff to update everybody on. The audit plan, so far this year, we've completed 2 projects. We've got 1 in progress, and we've got 5 remaining. With our challenges with losing our student intern, with Caitlin being off for a few months, I don't know that we're going to be able to make it through all 5 of these remaining projects by the end of the fiscal year. But as we get closer, I'll keep you up to date on where those are and which ones those will be. In addition to that time, here's where we've spent our time for this year. On the right is where we planned to spend our time. On the left is where we've actually spent our time. And you can see we were expecting to spend 65% of our time on projects and follow-up work. We've only done 51%. What have we been doing instead? The big increase is advisory time, where folks have been reaching out and saying, hey, can you look at some processes with us and help make some improvements there? We spent a lot of time on those and other projects. And the other one is hotline administration. So we plan to spend 5% of our time, and we're at 7% so far this year. This one took a big increase since October. In October, hotline represented about 3% of our time, and now we're up to 7%. So that's kind of what we've been doing and where we've been spending our time recently. With the hotline, so far this year, we've worked on 5 projects that have come in through the hotline. We've closed 4 of them, and we've got 1 remaining in process that we're still working on right now. Since October, we had 2 come in and 2 get closed. As a reminder to everyone, please let us know if you have concerns, you see things that aren't right, aren't appropriate. You can reach out to me directly, or you can reach out to the anonymous hotline information listed here. Finally, a big shout out to undergraduate admissions. So when we do an audit project, we issue a report. That report has recommendations, and management provides action items on what they're going to do to respond to those. We continue to work with that group after the fact and check in with them every quarter to see what have they done, what improvements have they made. Undergraduate admissions has gone through our entire audit report and addressed every item that we had recommendations for, and they are, so they're done. They're done with the follow-up process. So a big shout out to Scott McDonald and Labricia McKinney, who are on the ground working with us on those improvements and those process changes. Recently, in my discussions with you all, I've talked about our quality assurance review. That was the audit of the auditor. If you remember that one. We've got our own action items that we're working on. There's 10 of them. We've got 4 that are complete. The big one since October is highlighted in bold. It's completed 2,600, communicating and accepting risks. So what we needed to do there was document processes and procedures for when internal audit would communicate with you, the board, about risks that we didn't think management was addressing, or if there were other concerns. So we've got those procedures in place now, and you all can feel good about that. We've got 3 more items in progress, 3 more remaining. We'll keep working on those as we move on. In addition, we've got new internal audit standards that went effective in January. I gave you all a highlight of that last time. This should look a little familiar, But today, what I'd like to do is get into, in domain 3, governing the internal audit function, principle 6, authorized by the board. What do you all need to know about principle 6? And we've got 3 things, and again, I'm going to take them out of order because I think it makes more sense. Principle 6.2 says we must have an internal audit charter, that we must discuss that periodically and update it as needed. If you all remember, that's what we did in the fall. So thank you, President Caboni and the board. We did that review and it got approved. Principle 6.1 is the internal audit mandate. This is where the standards kind of changed the language around all of this, but the substance did not change. It says the authority and responsibilities of internal audit must be very clear, and it must be in the charter, and what scope and types of services we can do. Good job, you all. We got that in the charter last fall when we did that update. So those are the first 2. The third one is board and senior management support. First bullet point, communicate regularly. I'm here every quarter to check in with you all. Outside of this meeting, I'm meeting with Chair Brody, talking with the president. I'm meeting with Susan, probably more than she wants to, and being included in her team meetings. Thank you so much for that. There's a lot of communication that we do. The last 2 bullets talk about our projects and making sure we have no restrictions on what we can do, what we can look at, people we can talk to. And I'm pleased to report we have no issue with that. So my takeaway for you all is with principle 6.3, thank you all for your support with that, especially Chair Brody and President Caboni of setting that tone and that standard that that internal audit is important, and what we do is value add to the university. Other quick updates. I'm always telling you about our consultations. So far, 21 people have reached out for advice or just talking through problems around campus. That's exactly where we were last fiscal year at this time, and we're on track to hit our goal of 50 for the year. So we'll see if we get there. Contributions to the profession. We made a presentation at the Kentucky Registrars and Admissions Officers. Big thank you to the Registrar's Office for inviting us to talk about AI there. We've been getting around also since our last meeting. We spoke at 2 different accounting classes and also the Staff Leadership Institute. We did our presentation on what is internal audit, kind of what we do, why we do it, why it's important. And then at the Professional Development Day, I had a great session where we talked about the 3 signs of a miserable job and how to transform from miserable to meaningful. That was a really good session there, and enjoyed talking with folks at that one. And then finally, our Associate Provost for Research invited me to join the Conflicts of Interest Committee. So we had our first meeting this week, and I'm looking forward to work with that group to evaluate conflicts that have been disclosed by faculty around campus, and then us looking at management action plans to mitigate those risks. All right, looking ahead, it's the springtime, so we're looking ahead to the FY26 audit plan. We'll continue to put that together based on our risk discussions we're continuing to have with the President's office. And we'll be reaching out to other leaders around the university to make sure we get those updated here in the springtime. And then finally, we'll be working on our QAR action plans as we go forward, those moving along. Tried to run through that pretty quick. Are there any questions from anyone?
Bruce? Thank you so much for what you do.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Mr. Chair, that concludes finance, budget, and audit.
Very good. Regent Dennison, Student Affairs Committee.
I don't believe we have anything there.
I thought y'all had enough.
And we'll move right on to the executive committee. Action item number 1. We're already on the spot. I didn't have to call your name, man.
Thank you, Chair Milliken. I'm excited today to bring a couple pieces of good information from our philanthropy team in the last couple of months since we last met. Action item 1 is seeking approval for a philanthropic naming of Lieutenant Colonel Michael Arbu's Room of Retirement
located in the ROTC space of EA Diddle Arena. Lieutenant Colonel Michael Booz served as an assistant professor of military science from 2020 to 2023. During that time, then Major Booz earned a Master of Arts in Organizational Leadership while teaching, mentoring, and coaching the WKU ROTC cadets and future leaders of the U.S. Army. Lieutenant Colonel Booz has dedicated more than 20 years of his life serving this country, first starting as a helicopter mechanic upon enlistment in 2003, following positions of increased responsibility, including platoon leader during a deployment to Afghanistan in 2016 and 17. He returned stateside to serve as a battalion operations officer and was then assigned to WKU in 2020. Lieutenant Colonel Booz is now stationed at Fort Knox, where he serves as the Deputy Operations Officer at the Army Reserve Aviation Command. In addition to this programmatic gift, Lieutenant Colonel Booz also established a scholarship fund to provide support for WKU ROTC cadets who intend to pursue aviation in the U.S. Army. His hope is that our students have a little less worry as they are starting their aviation careers. Lieutenant Colonel Tody Struzik, who is WKU's department chair and professor of military science, said that Lieutenant Colonel Booz is a dedicated and very compassionate leader that truly cares about the cadets and their education, making this a very fitting honor for his generosity and support of the program.
Any questions or comments before I call for a motion? I'll entertain a motion to approve the philanthropic naming of Lieutenant Colonel Michael Booz Room of requirement located in EA Diddle Arena.
So moved.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. Motion carries. Second item.
Thank you, Chair. I am seeking approval of gifts and pledges by private donors that are eligible for the state match as part of the Council on Post-Secondary Education Endowment Match Program through the Comprehensive University Excellence Trust Fund. Don and Irene Disney of Ocala, Florida, pledged $1 million for the Donald R. and Irene S. Disney Dean of College and Health and Human Services. This fund provides support for the dean and supports an active teaching and research agenda. The donor committed to fulfilling this pledge over a 5-year period, which began December of 2024. President Caboni and I, along with Dean Bosta, were able to visit with the Disneys a few weeks ago in Florida, celebrate and appreciate their investment in endowing our first dean's position at WKU. Larkin Ritter of Bowling Green, Kentucky pledged $500,000 to establish the Larkin Ritter Scholarship Fund for Engineering and the Larkin Ritter Faculty Fund for Engineering to benefit students in programs in the School of Engineering and Applied Sciences. He fulfilled all of those commitments in December of 2024, and of that pledge, $425,900 will be matched by the state. The McCormick family, including Diana Holcomb of Georgetown, Craig McCormick of Bowling Green, John McCormick of Burlington, Maureen Louise Parker of La Mesa, California, and Nina Sewell of Bowling Green, have all pledged $50,000 to honor the memory of their mother and father, Betty Lou and Donald Raymond McCormick, by establishing a scholarship fund in the Department of Nursing. Each donor committed to fulfilling their respective pledge over a 5-year period, which began in December of 2024. In total, we will request an additional $1,475,900 in gift and pledges to be matched by the state. This, combined with the first $1 million the board approved in August of 2024, completes our portion of the available matching funds. We're incredibly grateful for the support of our alumni and friends who stepped up to this challenge to support students and faculties in our STEM+H disciplines, and they have created a lasting legacy at the university.
I'll entertain a motion to approve gifts and pledges by private donors that are eligible for the state match as a part of the Council on Post-Secondary Education Endowment Match Program through the Comprehensive University Excellence Trust Fund. So moved. Have a motion, have a second.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next item is item number 3. And Mr. Stewart, let me call on you to give us a presentation about that, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you. If you pay attention to college athletics right now on every campus, football is the biggest driver of everything. It's the biggest driver of the narrative on every campus. It's also the biggest driver of revenue. It's never been more important to be good at football than it is now. If you're not good at football, you're in a world of hurt. Fortunately, over the last 10 years, we've been very good at football. Over the last 11 years, we've been to 10 bowl games and we've won 7. And Tyson Helton's been a big part of that. He was here as an assistant coach previously, and obviously the last 6 years as our head coach. That's been great for us. The byproduct of that is other people have noticed. And he actually had 3 different schools approach him over the last season with opportunities to be their head coach. Fortunately for us, for a variety of reasons, it didn't work out. But what we felt in talking to Dr. Gaboni was, given the success that he's had, that we needed to recognize that. And this contract here is essentially very similar to the one that he had. It gives him more security, which he has earned. And there's a $50,000 annual retention bonus that starts in March of 2026. That will be paid for by the Hilltop Athletic Foundation. That will not come out of our state budget. That's the only change in compensation. And when Dr. Gaboni and I talked, the way we looked at it was from this standpoint. If he had left for another coaching job, and we went through the interview process, and I came to you all and said, we vetted a lot of candidates, and we have somebody that's really interested in our job. They've been a head coach for the last 6 years. They've been to 6 bowl games. They've won 4, and they've played for 2 conference championships, and it fits within our financial framework. I think everybody would say that would be a great hire. You really should hire that person. Well, that person's Tyson Helton. That's what he's done here. That's who I've described. So, for that reason, and the other thing I would point out too, that sometimes this gets missed a little bit, but in 2013, when Bobby Petrino was our head football coach, he made $850,000. Adjusted for inflation, that's over $1.1 million in value in today's numbers. So Tyson Helton's contract today, I know sometimes with football salaries, there can be a little bit of sticker shock, but his contract today is less than what we were paying our head football coach back in 2013. There aren't many, if any, programs in the country that have had the success that we've had over the last 10 years and are compensating their head football coach at a rate lower than what it was 10 years ago. So that speaks volumes of him and his loyalty here and really what he's been able to achieve. And I think really what everybody with our football program has been able to achieve. And that's why we need continuity. If you have somebody that's really good at what they do, it's never been more important to keep them here. And that's what he's been. I just feel keeping him here, he's an outstanding program manager, gives us the best chance for sustained success.
What was our football team GPA in the fall semester?
Yeah, it was actually over a 3.3 GPA for the team.
And a graduation rate higher than the overall university graduation rate.
Yes.
Those metrics just speak all kinds of things.
It's good to win. It's even better to win the right way.
Yeah. All right, do we have any questions or comments? Anybody have anything they want to say about this? Then I would entertain a motion to approve the athletic employment agreement with West Kentucky University and Tyson Health.
So moved.
Have a motion, second. Second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Stewart. We have an information item, legislative update, I believe.
That's correct. And Jennifer Smith joins us. She is recovering from influenza A and did not want to infect anyone in the room. She was in my office before being diagnosed. I managed to avoid it.
Hey, listen, if you all had any idea how many times I've been in the car with him hacking his head off, and I've not gotten it. So, it just works. Whatever way it does, it works. Well, thank you all for giving me a few minutes. I'm going to make this as brief as possible because I know I'm standing in between you all and lunch. So I really just wanted to give you a couple of things. So this is only day 12. But also day 12 is basically halfway through session because it's a short session. So we only have 30 working days. So one thing that has been interesting this year, the House decided to split their education committee into 2 separate committees. So we've got one focused on K-12 and one focused on post-secondary. What I have found through some of our meetings with the new post-secondary committee is that a lot of these legislators don't know a lot about post-secondary. So it's really given us a great opportunity to be able to, teach them kind of what we're doing, what we're here for, what our mission is. And I think it's been very helpful for a lot of these legislators to have some of these one-on-one meetings with me to be able to kind of go through everything with them. I had one legislator say, "I really know nothing about university, so teach me." So it's been kind of nice. It's really opened up that communication between me and a lot of these legislators I haven't had a chance to really get to know yet. So anyway, so that's just been something that's been kind of interesting, a new development. So as you all will remember, last session, we had the bill that would have allowed WKU to offer PhD programs. And that changed into a study that Deloitte did over really the summer and fall of last year. They had to have that into the interim joint committee on education back in December. And so really that study showed that WKU is ready to go. It was very positive for us. It also studied the other requests from the other universities that they had last session as well. So now what we have going forward is how do we move forward on these items? And so there have been 3 bills filed that would directly affect WKU. The first one is House Bill 118. And so this is one that is very specific, WKU only. We can offer up to 5 PhD programs. The second one that was filed was Senate Bill 134, and that one lists us with our PhD programs, and then it lists Murray State and Eastern Kentucky University with their requests as well. And then there's House Bill 499, and this was just filed yesterday. And it strikes, there's a section in the statute, it's section 6, and it is all prohibitive language for the comprehensive universities. And so what this bill does is it strikes section 6, so that removes all of that prohibitive language. And then it also puts in, it would require CPE to determine what the 5 high demand workforce areas would be that we could then offer PhD programs in. Now, it goes on to say that, the advisory group of the presidents would have to determine kind of what the criteria is to be able to offer the things, that kind of thing. So not real sure which one of those is going to move. And whichever one does move, I don't know that it's going to look exactly as it does as it's filed today. I do expect to see probably a hearing on at least one of these bills, maybe next week. And so we'll know a little bit more then. Does anybody have any questions on that before I move forward? No? Okay. So then the one other bill I want to mention is House Bill 491. This is a statutory relief bill that the universities as a whole have been working on over the interim. And so really this just kind of frees up, kind of codifies or changes some language to make it match with other statutes that are out there that really just are specific to post-secondary education. It changes the threshold for, like, if we had to purchase some equipment. Right now, I think it's at $200,000. This would change it to $500,000. That was a bigger ask from UK, specifically for some of the medical equipment that they have to purchase. And so just trying to make that a little bit easier to be able to do. That one was filed, I think, on Tuesday. So think that hopefully that one will move sometime next week as well, maybe get a hearing next week. So those are kind of the real positive things. Then just 3 other bills, just to let you all know, are out there and that we are keeping a close eye on. House Bill 4 is an anti-DEI bill. House Bill 424 is post-tenure review for our faculty. And then House Bill 434 is a tuition freeze bill. So we'll just kind of keep an eye on those things and see where those go. Do you all have any questions?
Jennifer, how many meetings do we have next week with Senate and House leadership?
A million, it feels.
9.
You can tell he's looked at his calendar a little bit closer than I have for next week. But yes, we're doing lots of meetings next week. I'm sorry.
Does anybody have any questions of Jennifer about in this legislation? Jennifer, thank you very much for that report. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
That concludes the morning meeting, unless someone else has something that they would like to bring up to lay it a little bit further. I understand there's lunch here.
Yeah, out.
It is 12:30-ish. How long y'all want to take for lunch?
30 minutes.
30
sounds
minutes?
good. Yeah.
Is 30 minutes good? All right, we're trying to be back here then at 1 o'clock and proceed with the rest of our agenda, which Beth has now pointed out.
I know.